you try to make sense of it. I mean, we're at war again, or somebody's at war. Somebody's always at war. You have people, you think, well, just if you're standing out examining, well, this guy's cheating on his wife, and this woman is doing something different over here. You sit around and you look at the kids marching around, protesting this. Then on the other hand, you got other people protesting that. And we just live our lives trying to make sense of what's going on. You see all of this stuff around you and you say, what's the one thing you say to yourself? Something's not right. Something's not right. And I guess I was about 11 or 12, and my grandfather died. And it was, I don't know when you're supposed to take your kids to their first funeral or whatever. Everybody's got their own ideas about it. But, you think, something's not right. Something's not right. There's the one thing you'll never escape, is dying. And we sit here and live our lives, and people die every day. And, as a kid, you sit there and look at it and say, well, why is this happening? I mean, I couldn't do anything. I mean, I'm 11. And you look at your grandma and say, well, what could you do about that? And, you can't do anything. You can't do anything about any of it. And you think, all of these things, and people are all the time blaming God, and if there is a God, so you have people that don't believe there's a God, and you have people that believe there's a God, and you have the people that say, well, if there is a God, why in the world would somebody die? What in the world is this going on? And why is this guy killing this person? And why is this person cheating on this person? Because we all have a certain sense of right and wrong. I mean, we all think, everybody thinks now it's different. Putin thinks he's right, going over there, and the other guys think they're right, fighting over there, fighting against him. Somebody says something to me, and I think I'm right. And they said it, why? Because they thought they were right. So we get, you get into this thing where you say, no, it's okay for me to take this from you, or it's okay for me to say this to you, or it's okay for me to do this to you. And on the other hand, I'm saying, well, I don't think so. And we look around, and there's, you've got young kids committing suicide. They're not making sense out of any of this. And one thing, what is there to offer? You have psychologists saying this. I don't know if y'all ever listened to Jordan Peterson, and he's kind of sort of thought he would get to God and trying to find out what in the world this is. Psychologists saying, it's okay to do this on one hand. There's really no evil. We want to say there's good, but there's no evil unless it happens to us and we say that was evil and this was good. And you're sitting here trying to make sense out of the human condition. You have Elon Musk wanting to go to Mars so he can save humanity. And I look around at humanity and I don't see a whole lot that needs that. That's worth saving. I mean, what is it? What do you think is going to happen when you get on Mars? There's still going to be lying, cheating, stealing, killing. I mean, who's going to be? Cain was the first murderer in the world. Who's going to be the first murderer on Mars? I don't know, but if you get enough people to Mars, guess what's going to happen? Somebody's going to kill somebody. And the question is, why are we dealing with all of this stuff? What is the answer? There has to be a solution. In college, I took comparative religion, and you had this religion, and you studied that religion, and you studied, you study Islam, you study Hindu, you study a little bit of this Confucius, you study Stoicism, you study Epicureanism, you study, I can't even remember all the different things, and it's like you're sitting here thinking, none of this stuff makes sense. I mean, oh, this sounds good, but what about this? And this one sounds good, but what about that? And there is no answer to any of it. You sit there because why? Because you got people involved. I mean, that's like the statement, if a fish doesn't know what it's like to be out of water. You know, a fish thinks everything's water till you catch him, and you don't think too much. That what happened? I'm not where I am. You know, if you were meant to be a fish, you would be in water. But if a fish was meant to be a bird, he wouldn't be in water. I mean, we're all involved in this life, and we're looking at it from one perspective. So the question is, why is all of this? When you're 12 years old and you're trying to figure out why, it's why, and then you hear, you know, of course you read the Bible, and you say, well, if there's a God, why are things this way? And you listen to this person say this, and you listen to that person say that, and you ask the question, and everybody wants to come up with Deuteronomy 29:29. The secret things belong to God. Well, you better read the whole verse, and that might be one of the ones for next week, is read Deuteronomy 29:29 and explain it to me. Why? Because you don't want to think, you say, the secret things belong to God. That's your first answer. If I don't know, and it doesn't jump out at me, and it doesn't slap me in the face, then that belongs to God. I'm not supposed to know about it. Well, I'm telling you, I'm 62. And we're going to talk about what I've been worrying about for 50 years. There's an answer. And it's so much bigger than what I know. But I'm going to tell you where I think it comes from. And it is so much bigger. I've heard preachers my whole life. I mean, I've heard all kind of preachers. I'm not just talking about John. You listen to every preacher, and every preacher's got something in the question, and you run into a problem when you read the Bible. And another verse, and I'll get to it at the end. Hebrews 4:12. I want to know what Hebrews 4:12 means. Deuteronomy 29:29 to get you out of your thinking, and Hebrews 4:12 to tell you what is real. Those, and we may get to some of that before we even leave. I just want to see if I understand reality. Then you have people that, like Elon Musk, and of course science fiction writers. There's always Star Wars, Star Trek. You got all these. What are they doing? They're always looking for what? They want to boldly go where no one's gone before, because we're explorers and we're looking for utopia. Because, you know, one of the interesting things is, it's fascinating. Now, all of this is going to make sense, because the thinking behind all of this. One of the interesting things on one of the Star Trek episodes years ago. We have eliminated poverty. Well, I get to thinking, I said, well, Jesus said, the poor you have with you always. So how did you eliminate poverty? How did you eliminate poverty if Jesus said you'll always have poor people with you? Why do you want to eliminate poverty? What is poverty? You're never going to eliminate poverty. Jesus said you would never eliminate poverty. Why? Because it deals with the human condition. But we always want these utopias. They're always looking. And what is the thing but in Star Wars? May the Force be with you. Who is the battle against? The dark side. Okay, well, if you're saying there's a dark side and there's a light side, how do you decide? The light side saying, we're the good guys. But Darth Vader, we're the good guys. We're the bad guys, which is good to be the bad guy, I guess. I don't know. But you have this struggle. You have the Iliad and the Odyssey. You have people in a struggle constantly. And the question is, why? Where did all this come from? If I was going to make a world, why would I make it that way? That doesn't seem very good of God to make it that way. The question is, did God make it that way? Was that his intention to make it that way? And this is just an introduction to what we're going to get to. And these things kind of have to be in order. So if you miss one, you have to see the previous week. Because there's a step to get here. There's a way to get here. We just have to acknowledge at the very beginning that the world has a problem. And everybody's searching for the answer to the problem. Go ahead.
Are you going to record these?
Yeah, I think he's recording it.
It's going live right now.
So anyway, that's the beginning. So that's the reason I couldn't tell you what I don't know. You know what I'm saying? There's an introduction as to why all this. There's no particular verse. I mean, I could have given you a verse, but I won't give them to you right now. But there is an answer to all of this. And I don't want us to get into the Deuteronomy 29:29 because secret things belong to God. Because if you get in that mindset that only this belongs to God, then you're going to miss. How are you going to answer? Paul in Ephesians. Anyway, before I'm jumping. Hold on. I'm bad about this. So through the comparative religion studies, you see all this, and I came to the conclusion that there is only one book that tells what happened before it happened, what happened, why it happened, and what's going to happen after it's over. There's only one book that says everything, that tells you why before and what where after. There is only one book to solve the problem that we all have, that will never escape. And that's we're all going to die. There's only one book where you know what will happen after you die. A lot of these religious things you never know, and like in Hindu, you know, you're going to be reincarnated, and then okay, well, if I did good, I'm going to come back better. Well, if I was an ant before and I came back as a man, and I look at all the stuff that's happened to me as a man, give me back the ant. If I was a cow, I was better off as a cow, because at least a cow doesn't know he's a cow. But a man looks at this person and I'm not causing you a problem here. So he beats her, and I'm saying, wait, that ain't good. A cow, he don't care. He's sitting there chewing. You keep on going. He don't care. You know what I'm saying? But I see that's not right. There's something wrong. There's something in us in all this. So that doesn't explain it. I mean, in Islam, you never know whether you're really saved until it's over with. You don't know what's going to happen in the end, you know. You got people, well, if my good works outweigh my bad works, well, maybe not. That's not exactly, so I got to go through all this. Well, let's see, okay. I got good works. Well, what's a good work? Well, it's good to, it's good to send military aid over to these other people that are fighting. Okay, so it's good to send things so somebody can kill somebody. That's a good work. So, well, wait a minute. Maybe that's not a good work. Okay, so maybe I should open an abortion clinic. I mean, because I'm saving these young girls. Well, maybe not, because what about the baby? Well, they've got this person on the side trying to save a baby, and this one over here, girl saying, I don't want to. And I told John, I sent him an article last week. It was just devastating to me. I mean, I just could not imagine. I'm going to get back to my point here in a minute. I could not imagine the level of evil. There is now counselors to counsel these young women to pray to their baby and say, thank you so much. I mean, I know it's a wonderful thing, and I thank you for allowing me to abort you, because you know I'm a young girl and this is going to just be really stressful in my life, and I'm not really ready to have you. This is what you're supposed to be telling your baby. And I'm so thankful that you're allowing me to abort you, because you know it will mess up my life. I'm not too worried about your life, to tell you the truth, but I'm worried about my life. And so the baby gives them permission. Now, I don't know how the baby gives them permission, but somehow or another they've convinced themselves this is a good thing. Paul, that's just those problems in the world. I went back to the problems in the world, to where, how do I know what's good? How do I know what's evil? And I'm telling you, there's only one place. There's only one book. There's only one set of instructions. Now, you can argue about it, and people do all the time. Well, we left books out of the Bible. How do we know this is true? How do we know all this? And I mean, if you get an opportunity this week, get on YouTube and look up the James Webb Telescope or the Hubble Telescope, and just look at stars that are 1 trillion light years from here. Bigger number than we can even imagine. And somebody made all that. And somebody just happened to make the air we breathe and provide us with food and provide everything we see. We got scientists that have been studying and studying and studying, trying to figure it out. Well, I figure if there's somebody that can do all that, they can get a little old book to me to tell me what I need to know. Because the question is, why make all this stuff and not give anybody a reason to know why they're there? Well, there is. Now, the question is, do I like it or do I not like it? Well, that's a whole different thing. And back in Ephesians chapter 3, before we get too far, I don't want to jump ahead because I'll be jumping it back and forth. But starting in verse 14, for this reason, and we're not going to go back to see what the reason was, but I bow my knees before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and on earth derives its name, that he would grant you, according to the riches of his glory, to be strengthened with power through his Spirit in the inner man, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, and that you, being rooted and grounded in love, may be able to, I don't know if y'all don't have, you might have one of them heathen Bibles, but mine says, I'm probably spelling it wrong. Comprehend. What does comprehend mean? You don't go by my spelling. I'm right.
My Strong says to apprehend, to attain, to come upon, to comprehend, to find, to perceive.
Okay. To understand, to see. If you comprehend something, if I tell you the sky is blue, you comprehend what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying, right? I want you, being rooted and grounded in love, you may be able to comprehend, that you may be able to understand, apprehend, grab with all the saints what is what? The breadth. All right, what's breadth? Oh, well, breadth, and what's the next word? Let's get them all down, then we'll see. Length, height, depth. So what does that tell you? What's breadth, length, height, and depth?
Covers the whole thing.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Every direction that there can be. I want you to be able to comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and length and height and depth. Now, does that sound like the secret things belong to God? And we're going to get there. Everybody wants to say the same. Now, how am I supposed to comprehend something if it's all this secret business? And to know the love of Christ which surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled up to all the fullness of God. Now, I don't know how I'm going to understand something. And I don't know how I'm supposed to meditate on something. And I don't know how I'm supposed to comprehend something. That is the love of Christ, the love of God, the sacrifice, the entire thing. How am I supposed to do that without thinking? Let's go to Deuteronomy 29:29. Somebody want to read that?
29:29.
Mm-hmm.
The secret things belong unto the Lord our God, but those things which are revealed belong unto us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law.
All right. Who is he talking to?
Us, I guess.
No. No, I wasn't there.
Well, I mean, I thought.
No. I know. See, that's the reason I'm telling you. I have to know exactly. Do you understand? One of the things. But anyway, go ahead. Who is he talking to? The children of Israel. Moses had delivered the law to them. Moses had told them what they were supposed to do into the promised land. Now, what were they to think about? The law. What God revealed to us, we're to follow this law. Moses didn't say, now I want you to comprehend and think and meditate on how God parted the Red Sea and got us out of the land of Egypt. He didn't say, I want you to ponder and think about why God would take us out of the land of Egypt. He didn't say, how does manna fall from heaven? I want you to ponder, what is manna and how does it fall from heaven? What did he want them to do? Basically, shortened version.
Study what God said about the law.
Pretty much, we'll just go with 10 Commandments for the short version of it. Okay. You got 10 little rules to follow. Okay. I don't want you to think, I don't want you to strain your brain trying to think what the grand scheme of everything is. I just want you to follow these 10 little rules and the law. That's what has been revealed to us. That's what we're supposed to follow. That's not. How many of them did it?
Well,
Go ahead.
back in verse 4, he said, "Yet the Lord has not given you a heart to perceive, and eyes to see, and ears to hear to this very day, and I've led you in the wilderness." There's the problem.
Yeah. You're thinking about it. Now, we'll get to this. I just want you to have some of these things in your mind. They didn't have that. We are supposed to meditate. We are supposed to comprehend. We're supposed to understand, and there's more verses than just this little one in Ephesians, to make us to know the love of God. Now, how do you ponder on this? How do you ponder to know the love of Christ? What does... Explain it to me.
say about one laying down his life for a friend. Or Christ
Okay,
laid his life
yeah,
down.
okay, we hear that. And that's, I don't necessarily can comprehend it. I could comprehend it if somebody loved me, that possibly, you know, you could see a father doing it for a child or a husband for a wife. You could see that. But you can't understand that. You think, gracious, you know, and that's we're thinking this a little bit here. But that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to comprehend. They weren't given that task. They were just trying to comprehend what was around them at life. So, in I'm trying to figure out how to, without jumping ahead, because one of my problems is I get too excited and I jump back and forth. I know nobody's ever noticed that before, but it does happen. Okay, we've got something here. Now, have you ever known anything without a beginning? You remember the beginning of your marriage. You may not remember the beginning of your birth, but you're here, so you did have a beginning. Everything seems to have a beginning in the world that we know, that we understand. Everything has a beginning. But what do you have? Let's say you are going to build a house, and you begin to dig the foundation. Is that the beginning?
No.
No. What's the beginning?
The planning and the...
Okay. There's planning that's involved before something just... I mean, nobody in their right mind just trips and falls over and finds a tree and a hammer and a saw and starts cutting. And what are you going to wind up with? There's always something in the mind. There's always a what? Plan. Exactly. Now, you're going to build a new house. How long do you think about building a new house? You're going to build a great house. I'm not just saying you're going to slap up a shack. I'm saying you're going to build a great house. Right. What are some of the things that you would think about?
Size.
Okay. You're saying that. I think different, but go ahead.
Materials.
Size, function, yeah, that's woman, kitchen, bathroom. You know. Yeah, no, you got the money, honey. You got all kind of money. There is no shortage of money. Okay, you think of a floor plan.
You need a builder.
Okay, you need a builder.
Location.
Location. Material. You think all that. I think about something a little bit different. What am I trying to accomplish? What am I trying to accomplish? I don't think about this room and that room. I think, well, what do I want? What do I want?
Function.
Yeah, I think about, well, what would I like? I say, well, I'd like a place to work. I mean, I like a place to store stuff. I would like a place to put all the mechanical stuff that's going to operate the house. I would like to know, well, I don't have any children, so I don't need 73 bedrooms. Or I got 73 kids. I need one bedroom. Whatever you think. What am I trying to accomplish? Everybody thinks about that. You may not think you're thinking about it, but you're thinking about it. You might say, I want a kitchen, but then you think, well, I want a kitchen. Why do I want a kitchen? I want to be able to cook. Well, how do I want to be able to cook? I want to be able to, well, I would like a faucet over my stove, and so I don't have to take this hot pan and run it over here and stick it under the faucet and bring it back. I want to minimize stuff. I want to be able to cook. I need a big work area because that's you do all the planning and what all needs. What are you trying to accomplish? If you're like me, hey, I need a good place for the microwave. That's all I need. It would be a whole different thing as what I'm trying to accomplish and what somebody else is trying to accomplish. Before God, so that's the thing that we got to ask. Before God created everything, what was He trying to accomplish? Does that make sense? Now, y'all have to follow me. When I don't make sense, you have to tell me, because that probably would be pretty regular. So before the beginning, so we have before the beginning. So there's something that happened before the beginning, and that's explanation. That's the question is, why even have a beginning? Why have a beginning?
Because of the battle that's going on in heaven right
Wait a minute. No, you jumped the gun way on up there. You jumped the gun way on up there because you don't know about that until way back here. So I'm thinking, okay, God created the world. But why? What was He trying to accomplish? And it is revealed why He created the world and what He was trying to accomplish. Now, you might not like my reasoning, but I'm going to give you my explanation, and because there's going to be a lot of preachers that are going to disagree with me. There's going to be a lot of preachers that pull the secret things belong to God. There's going to be a lot of people, but I'm just telling you how I came to think why all this happened and what the purpose of it was. So before the beginning, God, in Ephesians, we already studied that since John just went over Ephesians. In Ephesians chapter 1, God did something. Ephesians chapter 1. He did something before the beginning. He chose us. He chose something. Who? What? What did He choose? What did He choose? Keep reading. What did He choose?
He chose the people to be His people.
Okay, but it says something specific. Read it exactly, because I'm going to tell you when we get through with Hebrews 4:12, when you come back next week, you understand what I'm saying. No. Back on up a little bit. He chose that.
Just as He chose us in Him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and
Woo!
without blame.
Woo! What was that? What did He choose? I ain't talking about us. I'm talking about, He chose us, but what did He choose? What's He choosing? Holy and blameless. Now, what's holy mean?
Of God.
Set apart. Okay. How many of us were around? Well, what's blameless? Without blame. Okay. That doesn't mean without sin. It says without blame. So before the foundation of the world, God chose something to be holy and blameless. Now, we're saying it's us because that's what it says, because he's jumped ahead, because I got to go to Ephesians 3 to get a part. He chose the holy and the blameless. Well, set apart from what? What was it to be set apart from? Nothing has happened yet, except in the mind of God. So he's choosing something before the foundation of the world. So what does that imply?
He knows what's coming up.
Yeah, that's right, but I'm looking for something different. If you can choose, what does that tell you? There's a choice. So there must be this or this at least, right? And he wants the holy and blameless, those set apart and those without blame. That's what he's choosing. So what is the other choice that we have right now? Yeah, you have unholy and the blamed. Okay? Blamed for something and not what I want. I choose something that's set apart without blame. I choose that. That's what I'm choosing. Okay, so before the beginning, God decided that we're going to make a choice between something.
Angels. He sent some to be dead.
Yeah, but we're way, but that's the angels are back here. I'm skipping it. I'm going backward into the mind of God. There's something that happened that God is making a choice.
He gave us free will.
We don't have free will yet.
All right.
We're not. That's over here. We'll get to that. Right now, I'm figuring out.
It was already perfect where God was. If everything was holy and blameless, why would he want to start creating other things and want them to be chosen to be holy and blameless? If there weren't already something that wasn't holy.
Oh, there was holy and blameless. That's exactly right. There was holy and blameless beforehand. There was, let's say, to get the holy and blameless, you have to have this. And I'll throw out a verse. Jesus said, "Why do you call me good? There's none good but the Father." But there has to be a choice being made. What I'm saying is, before God even created the world, this plan, he gave certain choices of things that were going to happen. Okay, now let's go to Ephesians chapter 3. Because I want this right here is, there's a lot of people that, the only reason God created man was because he was lonely. Okay, that is an entire argument, a theological argument, that God made man because he was lonely. And if God was full of himself, why would he even make man? That says God's weak because he had to have man. Well, I hate to tell you, there was a lot of things around before man. The question is, why did he make man? Go to Ephesians chapter 3. And we're going to read this, but it's going to take us a while. I mean, we'll go through it. But I'm trying to get us to the point, 10:15, is that right? Okay.
10:20, or 10:10.
10:10, it's already 10:10.
Well, it's time.
Well, ain't time, I ain't finished. Okay. We'll start this and let's finish it up next week. Starting in verse 8, chapter 3, Ephesians. Just put this down to contemplate on this next week. We'll start in verse 8. To me, Paul's talking, the very least of all the saints, this grace was given to preach to the Gentiles the unfathomable riches of Christ. And I want you to study every word. I don't want you to just read it. You think about it. And to bring to light what is the administration of the mystery. Now, in Deuteronomy 29:29, what was the thing? The secret things belong to God. What is Paul saying? I'm revealing the mystery.
Well, that was just the first part.
Yeah, well, which for ages has been hidden in God who created all things, in order that the manifold wisdom of God might now be made known through the church to the rulers and authorities in the heavenlies, in accordance with the eternal purpose which He carried out in Christ Jesus our Lord. God did not make the world for man. The church, and this is another thing to think about. The church. I want to know what the church is, and I don't want to know what the preachers told you all this time. I want to know. God's creating a church. What is the church? Oh, yeah, well, that's true, but what's the real ecclesia? What does the ecclesia, the Greek word, actually mean? Called out. Okay. He is calling out. That's what He's doing. He's calling out. God's calling out. And who's He doing this for? No. That's who did it. The question is, who's it to? Look at the verse. Look at the verse. The rulers and authorities in the heavenly places, for them to know the manifold wisdom of God. God is showing His wisdom to rulers and authorities, and that's something else to start thinking about over the next few weeks. Rulers and authorities. And where are these rulers and authorities? Okay, so that means there's somebody in the heavenly places, right? So was God lonely? No, God wasn't lonely. He didn't make man because He was all alone and didn't have anybody. Okay, anyway, I won't go anymore. That was the eternal purpose. So before God makes the world, He's going to show wisdom to the rulers and authorities. He's calling out before He even does it. So that's going to tell you the church. And you think about the church, and I don't mean the Baptist church, the Church of Christ, the Catholic church, the Lutheran church, the Methodist church. I want to know who God's talking about. And we'll see you next week in episode 2 or whatever.